Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Dr. Mark Ofua. I am a wildlife veterinarian and Wild Africa Fund spokesperson. With me here is our CEO, Peter Knight.
Hi, from Lagos.
Now, not only is this our first Instagram live for this year in Wild Africa Fund, this is the first time we're hosting our CEO, Peter Knight, from Lagos, Nigeria. So it's going to be superb and exciting.
Being Lagos, we just started construction next door. I don't know if you can hear this. It's Friday night, 6 o'clock, and they just started putting the building down next door to us. So it might be a bit noisy. We'll try and make our voices heard.
Yeah. And then also joining us on this Instagram live. So Peter Knight and I, we came upon this beautiful edifice, and we shouted "Open Sesame," and we found ourselves in Ali Baba's cave. So this is introducing the foremost comedian here in Nigeria, also regarded as a king of comedy, Ali Baba himself. And yes, he told me not to add this, but I'm going to. He's a GCFR. He is a titled Nigerian, yeah. So, welcome on board, sir.
Coming on in a minute. If we rub the lamp, he may appear.
Yes, he is here.
I'm here.
How are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are you guys doing?
You're an animal lover, Ali Baba. Tell us about it, why you love animals.
First of all, we're all animals. It's just that some are wild animals and some are human animals. And so I had taken to liking animals, especially the strength of the elephant, the speed of the cheetah, and the wisdom of the tortoise from folk tales that we were told back in the days. So my love for the animals have really been great. So.
And you tell your wife that you have all those attributes too, right?
I didn't get that.
You have all those attributes too. The speed of the cheetah.
Oh yes, I do, yes.
Endurance of a lion.
So how are you? Happy New Year again.
Thank you. And it's wonderful to be back in Lagos.
Welcome back. I heard you saying that you missed the traffic, right?
The one piece I could do without.
Have you tried our pepper soup yet? Because you've eaten jollof rice. What of the pepper soup?
I don't know. Dr. Mark sent me quite a few interesting things, I can tell you. So,
yeah. So no. Why I'm asking about pepper soup is that I'm coming to a very, very careful and serious question. A lot of people eat exotic animals for pepper soup. Why should we stop?
Why should we stop? Why should we stop eating illegal bushmeat? There are so many reasons. I mean, one reason I just felt, now it's gone quiet here, but I think something we don't talk about, especially in Lagos, it's a pretty crazy question. To have wild places that are peaceful, you can hear birds sing, I think is something that people will treasure more and more. To get out in nature, to have the calming effect of nature. But there's many reasons. One of the reasons that what we're sustainable in many cases. So many of these need to eat, then we're going to be there. So there isn't a future in that. And then there's also the disease risk, which maybe Dr. Mark can address.
All right. For those that are just joining in, we have Ali Baba with us and Peter Knight, and we'll be talking about wildlife in Nigeria and why we need to conserve them. Please let your questions come in, and I'm sure Ali Baba himself has some questions to ask, and we also have some questions to ask him. Now, on the reasons why we need to be wary and careful with our interaction with wildlife is disease, transfer of disease. We call them zoonoses. These are diseases that can be transferred from humans to animals, from animals to humans.
Call them zoonoses.
Zoonotic disease. That means from animals to people.
To humans. Okay.
in animals. So this is not an uncommon thing.
Like Peter just said, it interests you to know that about 5% of the diseases we have currently amongst humans originated from animals. But the good thing about this, we have kind of, do I use the word domesticated them? We have immunity to them. We have drugs that can treat them, So those are not really a problem. But the problem arises from new diseases coming in that we do not have immunity for, nor drugs to contain. You see, these will be very devastating. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic that recently passed. Now, Lassa fever is wiping out people in Nigeria currently. Diphtheria, this is something we had dealt with before, but coming up again. So these are, and then anthrax, which shook us some months ago. So the danger in relating with wildlife unnecessarily is that we can bring in new diseases that will be very, 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 very fatal to us.
And when the animals are in the forest, it's a problem. But when we take them, we transport them, we stress them, and then we cut them up and butcher them for bushmeat, there's a risk of disease transmission. And really, particularly the handling the animals are particularly at risk.
Okay. So let me jump to another question that is related. What kind of animals are endangered? What type? Because when you say animals, people are thinking dog, but when you're talking about wildlife, what wildlife is it? Is it the elephants? Is it the lions? Is it the zebras? Is it the hyenas? What wildlife is endangered most, especially in Nigeria?
Okay, so thank you for that question. Let me start by defining wild animal or wildlife. Any animal that has not adapted to living with humans is a wild animal. So it goes from lions, the elephants, up to the birds, the lizards, they are not adapted like the goats and the dogs and chicken to living with humans. So that's all.
Domesticated
at all. Now, the animals that are endangered, these are animals, when we use the word endangered, it means animals at a risk of disappearing forever. You see.
Okay.
So 40 years ago, 50 years ago, we had elephants roaming everywhere. My father would tell me stories of how he would leave home early for school and get to school late because on the way they came across a herd of elephants crossing the road and they had to wait until the entire herd crossed and they lose time and all that, But we don't have that again. We had cheetah.
Teenagers like you and me, Alibaba, we wouldn't remember that, right? We're too young. You and I were too young.
We're too young to know. We're too young to know that. We're too young, yes.
But in primary, secondary school, we had a cheetah as on our postage stamp. You see, because we had cheetah.
We had it was purple and green.
Yes, you remember Yankari Game Reserve. I still remember that thing. Now the cheetahs have gone extinct in Nigeria. They're locally extinct. We had rhinos in Nigeria that are extinct. So we had giraffes. They are functionally extinct in Nigeria.
You used to have rhinos in Nigeria?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Black rhino.
Oh, yes. And now these animals are gone. One interesting thing in Lagos here, there's this community very close to us. They call them Igbo. I'm sure you've heard that name.
Of course.
It's forest of buffaloes. Right now, I don't think there's any forest there, not to talk of any buffaloes there. You see, so these animals are becoming locally extinct. These animals are the ones we refer to as they reproduce slowly. They need lots of forest cover for their home, all that. And as we take off these factors, these animals disappear.
We used to have buffaloes in Nigeria.
In Lagos. I'm telling you, Igbo is about 10 kilometers from where I'm sitting. In Lagos.
Can you imagine that would make the traffic even worse if we had buffaloes?
But you see, this is the other thing that I think if you had buffaloes and you preserved them, you would actually make more money to feed yourself from keeping them in a place that people can go and see or just protecting them in a reserve area than if you eat them.
Exactly.
They calculate in East Africa, every elephant, which lives for 75, $1 million of tourism revenue from every elephant. And if somebody kills it, they maybe get $500 if they're lucky as a poacher. But if you keep it and you have tourism, you can make a lot more money in the long run. And that's one of the big reasons to keep wildlife and even bring it back. I hope we can bring these animals back here.
Okay, so what can we do to set up like a reserve area where we then do some promo and say, if you find any animal like this, don't shoot it. You can tranquilize it. If you are a hunter, come collect tranquilizers, use them, and we then bring them to this reserve to preserve them. Then you kill them. What kind of, can we arrange that kind of program and work on it?
We need awareness that if people, we know last year there was an elephant shot. I'm sure you remember that. It's a tragic incident. Instead of shooting it, the government needs to come and tranquilize it. And as you say, relocate it back into the park and keep it as part of the park. I mean, there are actually elephants 20 miles from Lagos, believe it or not, in the forest there. But they're still so scared of people now. It's hard to take people to see them because they're very scared. So it needs the protection. The government needs to protect them properly. The rangers need to protect them. And then we can start to look at tourism. And probably the biggest potential here is the gorillas. There's 100 gorillas still in Nigeria and Cross River. Did you know that?
I paid $600 to go and see a gorilla that didn't even want to see me.
Did you ask the gorilla for a refund?
No, I asked the agent for a refund, and he said no, that just the fact that I could take a picture of it, that it's worth the price. But I really did love them. The gorilla was looking at us like, who are these people? But I think it was getting used to seeing people come into the place, walk around, and very territorial too. But you see, where in Nigeria can we still find gorillas?
Cross River.
So we have gorillas in Cross River, and not just that we have gorillas in Cross River, we have a distinct, unique species of gorilla not found anywhere else in the world. In Cross River, in boundary between Cross River and Cameroon.
Cameroon would argue, not just Nigeria. Cameroon would fight over that.
If we can preserve these guys and turn it into a tourism center, people would come from all over the world to see these unique species of gorilla.
They just did a survey. Are they 4 out of 5
producing? Are they procreating? Are these gorillas procreating?
Yes, they are, but because of the destruction of their habitats and hunters setting up traps and snares and everything, they are highly endangered. So the first step will be to make laws and enforce the laws to protect them and allow them to reproduce and recover their numbers.
Okay, do we have House of Reps members or senators who are in charge of this, or is it the Minister for Environment, or is it the Minister for tourism that we should talk to? I have connections to some of these people. Who should we speak to put this up and pursue it?
Minister of Environment, we met the State Minister this week. We need to talk to the tourism. They're not talking right now. There's the possibility down the line to have places to see elephant, lion, all these animals. We were just in Rwanda recently with maybe somebody I don't know who you know, maybe Tubaba?
Two-Face, yes.
Two-Face. I know Tubaba. Yeah, I do.
So he came and saw gorillas with us in Rwanda, and there they have a national park called Akagera. They put back elephants, they put back rhino, they put back lions. Now they have the big 5, and it's a great tourist attraction. That's what we should be hoping for here in Nigeria.
But okay. So the other thing we're going to fight is, I remember, Claire, this was a personal experience. I remember trying to get the Benue state government to buy into a transfer of 10 zebras into Nigeria from Zimbabwe and Botswana. And the problem was that the person that was in charge wanted to be settled. He wanted to be settled for him to get the governor to approve for a reserve area to be created and for the zebras to be brought into Nigeria. And we were not going to pay for the zebras. They said the zebras are growing and they needed to just send some to other places so that it can be, because there's a traditional color in Benue which is black and white. And I figured since zebra was black and white, we could get them and then procreate a lot more and then preserve them. So what I think is government policies also need to change towards this. Have you had any issues with government policies or working with, or what are the challenges that you actually have in making this thing come through? What are the challenges?
The challenge at the time was there was a piece of legislation that went forward to protect wildlife better, and then it ran out of time because of the election. So we had first reading and then the election came. We have to start again this year. So we're hoping this year they're going to start again, try and push that through. And this would be a great law. It would protect wildlife. It would be really up to date because the laws right now in Nigeria, maybe 20 or 30 years old, they really are not good enough for the modern age. And so we're hoping this year there'll be a legislative push from the Assembly And the public to support that would be great, to push that through, because that would, I sometimes use a football analogy. Right now, we're kind of in the relegation zone and we want to be playing for Europe and in the top 5. And that's what we could do. If we pass the law, we can get up there and be one of the regional leaders.
Okay. Now, let me go to one that is a very serious issue, pangolins.
This is Mr. Pangolin.
Okay, so let me say why that is. It is not a dangerous animal. It is not going to attack you and use you for food. Why are people going after it? It is innocuous.
So the pangolin is the case around the pangolin is something that breaks my heart. Now, this is a wealth that we have that a large percentage of the population does not know what we have. I'm sure when you mention pangolin now, some of the listeners are like, what is a pangolin? We don't know we have this animal around us, and we are losing.
Okay, so just let me interrupt you. I'm going to post pictures of pangolins later, and so we just need you to talk about it. I'll post it later when this whole interview is done, and then I'll just post it and start tagging as many animals, and then we'll start the conversation. Yeah.
This animal is one beneficial, innocuous, peaceful animal that we have here that we do not know, but we are losing them by their numbers. Now, the pangolins, there's this traditional belief in Asia that their scale is medicinal and can cure anything.
Okay, I just opened it. So this is what the pangolin looks like.
Thank you very much. So there's this belief that their scales can cure everything from high blood pressure to aphrodisiac
and poverty too, Abi.
Yeah, and everything. And the scale is made of keratin, which is the same materials as our fingernails. So imagine saying that your fingernail will kill high blood pressure and whatnot. So because of this, they are highly sought for, persecuted and all that. And we don't know, because they save us millions in agricultural losses every year. The pangolin feeds basically on ants and termites. You understand? So
once you have one in a farm, you don't need to buy insecticides. They just help you out.
1,000 ants in a very short time, So you don't need, but now we have taken all the pangolins out. Follow me on this thread, please. We've taken all the pangolins out of the system. Now we have these ants and termites destroying our crops. So what do we do next? We bring in insecticide, like you just mentioned, and sniper and everything. But these insecticides, they do not select. They kill the ants, they kill the useful butterflies, they kill the bees, and these other insects help with pollination and increase yield in your crops. So you find out that our crop in reduces. And when this happens, the farmer doesn't get enough produce, price goes up. And we suffer a vicious that unless we put a stop to it now, things will getting harder and harder and harder. Continue.
People think the pangolin is a small animal. They think that it reproduces quickly, has many babies. But in fact, because the pangolin has those scales, even lions get into a pangolin when it's rolled in a ball. So they don't have natural predators. So they don't have many babies because they don't lose many babies normally. So maybe one baby every 2 years for a pangolin. So any hunting is going to hit them very quickly, and they can't bounce back because they reproduce very slowly.
One baby every 2 years.
Thereabouts.
Because their mother looks after them.
That's some serious child spacing.
And we tried breeding them in zoos, but that hasn't been very successful. Maybe only a dozen worldwide. So there is no way of breeding them or domesticating them. What we have is what we have in the wild. And I was speaking. We have an incident with a Cameroonian who was a cocoa farmer. And they had they would let the people come and take the pangolins from the cocoa farm. And when they knew how little they were, they said, well, that's not going to last for very long, is it? So they stopped that. And they said, well, what does it eat? It eats ants. Well, ants are attacking my cocoa crop. So I should keep them to protect my cocoa crop. So, and this is for many animals. They have a role in the ecosystem. You take them out, it disrupts things. It causes us all other problems. So we need to keep nature balanced. And one big thing that's come up from the climate conference this year is the way that animals help to absorb more carbon. So a forest with no forest elephants does not absorb as much carbon as a forest with elephants. And so these systems have developed over millions of years. They're very good and very efficient at absorbing carbon, which we need to do more and more to help address climate change.
So like how many pangolins do we have in Nigeria now, roughly? Are they up to 20,000? Are they up to 50,000? How many actually?
eagle, but our pangolins are highly endangered because we know they are removed by hundreds of thousands every year.
I mean, they're nocturnal and they either hide in trees or in some cases in burrows. So it's really, really difficult to find them and catch them. The only way people find them is they hunt them with dogs and the dogs find the smell. But we have no estimates anywhere in the world of pangolin populations. What we do know is they're becoming harder and harder to find. And even talking to the hunters are saying, well, yeah, we can't find pangolins anymore. It's very hard to find them. So they know it's going away. And some of the hunters have come on board and they're trying to protect the pangolins because now they understand that they can't deal with it. A grass cutter, it reproduces quickly. It can live in agricultural land. You can potentially hunt that sustainably. You can't hunt pangolins sustainably.
And I can tell you this easily. In Nigeria, we're blessed. The pangolins are about 8 species of pangolins. In Nigeria, we were blessed with three of them: the black-bellied pangolin, the white-bellied pangolin, and then the giant pangolin. Right now, the giant pangolin has not been seen in the last 15 years in Nigeria. So that one is functionally extinct. The black-bellied pangolin is very, very difficult to see. We only have the white-bellied pangolin left. So that tells you that there's a trajectory. The giant is extinct. The black-bellied is...
Where else can you find the giant ones now? Where else in the world?
South Africa. You can find them in Southern Africa.
Is it not possible to go to South Africa and get like 2 males and 2 females and 2 males of them and begin to build a reserve area and begin to...
Pangolins are tough and things, but other animals, absolutely. I mean, many places, particularly in South Africa, they've moved animals around from one park to another. So they're getting quite good now at being able to reintroduce animals very successfully. So that is not a technical problem. You have to have a safe place. That's the key.
Okay, so the first step is to get a safe place.
Let's protect the ones we have first and get it right. Then bring in more.
Okay. All right. And how long has Wildlife Africa been in existence?
We've been going for 1 year. We've been doing this work. We were working as Wild Aid before here. And so we've been around for a while doing these programs, maybe 2 or 3 years here in Nigeria. We just got some great results from a survey we did, and 85% of people in Nigeria reported remembering the campaigns we've done. And 30% of people said they were going to stop eating illegal bushmeat, which is incredible. So it's all about education. It's all about awareness. And that's what the government will also listen to, the public response to protect the wildlife.
Can we get a grant? Let's say we get a grant and say, every time you find a pangolin, instead of kill the pangolin, we will give you 5,000 naira or give you 10,000. Can we set up a fund like that, raise money towards it, and get people who donate or organizations donate towards it so that we can buy back any of all these animals that are going into extinction?
So if we do something direct like that, what you have is people now go to the forest to look for the pangolin to make that money. You see, so that's going to be counterproductive. But instead, if we focus these funds on educating the people why they need to have these animals around them. I knew time in South Africa to go into the wild to track a pangolin cost about 50,000 rand, which is some very good money. You know, you're not touching the animal, you're not doing anything to it. You just track it and you see, oh, that's a pangolin. You enter your car and you go. Let's see.
A better way to use money, it was something we've done here, it tried out on a small scale, but the government could do on a bigger scale, is the people that are trapping the pangolins and the animals, you talk to them, explain what's going on, and then you help them with alternative sources of income. So we had a project called Noilers, which is a chickens. They're actually half European, half Nigerian chickens. They have the resistance of a Nigerian chicken and the big meat of the European chicken, and they can raise them in the villages organic, no chemicals. The villagers can rear them and then they can sell them at premium price because it's organic. So that's the kind of thing that to put money into is not a direct thing which might encourage people to still hunt them, but actually an alternative. And then now Dr. Mark has some of these hunters who come and they bring him, if they find a pangolin, catch it, they bring it to Dr. Mark so that he can release it safely. Because you can't just let it go randomly. You have to find a safe place to do it, make sure the animal is healthy. Dr. Mark does a lot of that. And maybe one time when he's putting one of these pangolins back, you can come along and see it go out to the wild.
And help us do release.
Okay, now is it possible to give an alternative? For instance, if you find a pangolin, I'll give you chicken for 1 week. I'll give you chicken meat or I'll give you cow meat for that will last you for, or rabbit meat or something. Can we do that kind of exchange? If that kind of, because if the person that is catching it or going hunting and catching it is catching it for meat or for sale, what they need is money. Can we do something like that?
I think that, giving a direct transfer like that still encourages practice. It still encourages to go out and do it. But if you can talk to them and come up with a scheme where you're giving them an alternative income, not just for a day, but for long run. So these chickens, people get eggs from them. They can eat the eggs and then they can sell back the chicken in the longer run. It's a more sustainable, better business for the long run. And it's not a direct exchange. It's just, if you're cooperating, collaborating, you're abiding the law, then, the government will help you find something better to do that is sustainable.
Let me give you a little, let you know how the human mind thinks. Okay. So sometime they had this problem with cobras, snakes, venomous snakes around, and then they placed the bounty that for every venomous snake you kill, will give you X amount of money. And then of course people started killing venomous snakes, and it got to a point they found out that it was actually cheaper raising these snakes. So people started raising snakes, the venomous snakes. Raise them, they give birth, lay eggs, have babies, and then they go to kill and then go to collect money. So when they found that people were actually now breeding the snakes in order to get money, they stopped the program. And when people found out that they were not making money again, they released all the snakes they had. At the end of the experiment, they had more snakes in the community than when they started the experiment.
It now became counterproductive. But you see, unlike that kind of arrangement, if you do that kind of arrangement with the pangolins, we'll get more pangolins, and pangolins will not destroy their crops.
The pangolins don't destroy crops; they protect crops.
Exactly. So that is what I'm saying. So let's start that kind of program and see if from 12 pangolins we can go to 45, go to 60, go to 70. We can drive that awareness.
That program will be beautiful with the giant pangolin. If they can go and look for a giant pangolin for me, I'll give them reward.
But it's difficult.
We can set up a trust fund. We can set up a fund and get. I can drive that with a lot of the comedians and say, for every comedian that put a smile on the wildlife, we can push something like that and say, for every performance that you do, give us 2-3% of whatever you earned. And we can put it towards that. It might start small, but when you then begin to get a lot of creative people do it, and every time they do it, we give them certificate of contributing towards getting pangolins back to Nigeria. We can then spread it to all other animals. It's a project that we can discuss later. I think it will go a long way, because first of all, it's awareness. Second is action, and then the purpose for which we're doing this action. We're trying to get a particular or just a general idea is to get a lot of all these things to not be extinct.
Right.
And so I think we can work out something like that.
And the government has some interest in this as well, and the tourism ministry should have some interest in this. And there are organizations that come in and help clean up parks and get them so there's no more poaching, and engage the local communities so the local communities are getting some benefit from the tourism. And that's the way that you can turn things around and get people more on side and not wanting to hunt anymore when they see that there's a more sustainable income for them, a better livelihood from keeping the animals. That's when you're really having success. And so you could also
do a sticker that you give to restaurants and say, we are compliant, we don't sell wild or extinct animals in our restaurants. And you just put it there, even if they don't sell. But the fact that restaurants are putting that up on their shelves, like you have the no drugs here, no rape, no to rape, no to this. So we do those kind of stickers and give it to restaurants to put up. And so when people get there, because if people are not going to order it, nobody then begins to think of, stocking it in their restaurants.
That's the key. We did quite a bit of this in Asia, with shark fin. And restaurants would say, no shark fin, we don't serve shark fin anymore. And again, it was a question of education. It was something gone on for a long time. But when people understood, in that case, in many cases, they chop the fin off the shark and they throw the shark to die into the ocean. They waste a lot of it. And when their education was around that, and sharks are like pangolins, they reproduce very slowly. It's all about education awareness, reducing the demand. That's the key. And then the animals can come back and recover.
All right, I like that. I like the angle. I like that angle. So awareness. I've seen some of the awareness. Big shout out to Davido. Big shout out to Nwobi. Big shout. Was it Ricardo Banks that did one too? There are three people I've seen that did. Yeah.
For us, just two fella did.
Emanuela, you know her, right? You know Emanuela?
Of course.
I know Emanuela, the young skit maker.
She's been great. She's been fabulous.
And Mayoko also did one for us too. Mayoko, not Ricardo.
Okay, Mayoko, that's the name I was trying to remember. Yeah, Mayoko. Mayoko, yeah.
We're waiting for your comedic one. We want one that's really funny from you.
Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to shoot one soon. We'll shoot it in a restaurant. I have an idea of something like that. We'll just shoot it in a restaurant, and sit down to eat and shoot it in the restaurant and tell the woman, or would shoot one where we buy it off somebody on the street and tell the person, take the money you make from this. This is how much is made from other places from just watching this instead of eating it. You make more money from watching it than eating it. Those kind of messages will go far.
And can I ask you a question? What's your favorite wild animal?
It has to be the cheetah. The speed. I actually have a proverb that I use, or a saying that I use because of the cheetah. I said, because the cheetah is so fast, when a dog calls it to come and let's run, it doesn't run because it feels there's no need. There's nothing to prove.
No competition.
I think the cheetah would be pretty frustrated in Lagos trying to get around, right? He couldn't get up.
No, because the thing is, the speed of the cheetah is something that people still marvel at. The only thing that is faster than the cheetah, I think, is the exchange rate. Nigeria right now, the exchange rate is going up so fast. It's the only thing that is faster.
It's one way.
But then again, I think there's need for us to come up with names. So instead of just do a PSA that says this and all of that, we should actually list some of them so that people who see them can then begin to mention it to different people. Because sometimes some people are just sitting down eating one of it and they don't know that it's endangered. So how can we get those lists out there? How do we do? If you do my own PSA now, I would like to list names of some of those that shouldn't be eaten, and we need to preserve those ones. I need to do a list of those. How are we going to do that?
And the cheetah is interesting because the cheetah is a relatively easy animal to reintroduce if they have enough prey, if they have the animals to eat, which are animals. I mean, one of the problems with the bushmeat trade is it takes away what they would eat. But cheetahs are not really dangerous to people. They're not aggressive to people. Lions and leopards can be dangerous, but cheetahs not really aggressive to people. But you do need to have a good, secure prey base for them, and they don't eat animals that are too big. They need the smaller animals, and that's a lot of what gets taken, unfortunately, in the snares in the bushmeat trade. So you have to make sure there's enough food for them first, but they would be.
Okay, so what it means is that we are eating more of the food that the cheetahs are looking for to eat.
Well, and when there's snares set for bushmeat, the snare doesn't know if it's a lion, if it's a cheetah, whatever. Even the elephants sometimes have their trunk caught in the snare, the wire snares. And elephants with the trunk horrible, but half coming off because they were caught in the wire snare. Because the wire snare doesn't know what animal it's catching, indiscriminate. What's so dangerous and destructive about them?
Okay. All right. We're getting to a point. So yes. Now, what has been the biggest challenge that Wildlife Africa has had? What are the biggest challenges that you've had?
I think the challenge is, it's been an amazing journey because when we first came here, everybody I met said, "Oh, nobody in Nigeria cares about wildlife. Nobody's interested." And then we started talking to people, and people like yourself, people like TV networks, they were interested. They did care. They wanted to do something to help, but nobody had asked what to do to help. And so that initial thing, I would joke with people because they say, "Oh, nobody cares." And then by the end of the meeting, people like yourself came forward, "Oh, we want to do something." How, you just pictured yourself because you cared and you're now doing this. What if many people in Nigeria are It's not they don't care, it's just not being discussed. So I think we've got over that now. We're seeing a lot more engagement of the media. Now we have to get the new law passed. A challenge, as you know, getting laws passed is not easy anywhere, but we need to get that done. The government has become way more engaged, and customs now. Customs are doing in Nigeria a good job on the wildlife. They're making many seizures, and that's been great to see. And we've got a project coming up this year to help them with sniffer dogs that can detect ivory and scales so that they can stop smuggling even more. So we're very excited about that. So I think the challenge initially was, getting access to people and communicating. But what we found, I've been so delighted and surprised by the great reaction of Nigerians in support of this campaign. I don't know what you think, Dr. Mark.
Okay, so I have a bit of people. Numbers just dropped a bit, but I think it just goes up and comes down.
Right.
Let's ask the people who are on the platform right now. Please just indicate which wild animal have you seen in Nigeria lately? What are the wild animals you've just indicate by just putting a comment there? What wild animals have you seen in Nigeria lately? Antelopes endangered?
Sorry?
Antelopes, are they endangered?
Some of them aren't. It depends which species and where. They have been heavily hunted in many places, but they reproduce a bit more quickly than some of the other animals. There's usually a lot more of them to begin with, right? So for one lion, you're going to have maybe 100 antelope to have that balance. So you need more of them. But yes, some of them are definitely endangered, and they've been wiped out in many places. Again, they can come back even quicker if they can be protected.
What's the okay? And then for cheetahs, how long is their gestation period? How long do they take?
The cats have short gestation period. I think it's between 3 to 5 months. So they can really, if we reintroduce and give them an opportunity to recover, they can recover very fast. Lions, I think, is about 2. The cats have very short gestation period.
What about hyenas? Somebody has suggested hyenas.
Hyenas are much quicker, I think. You see hyenas in relatively large numbers, and hyenas tend to do relatively well, better than the cats. The cat that does really well in many places is the leopard. And the leopard does really well because it's elusive. People very often don't see leopards. There was some great film on the BBC one time in an Indian city where the feral dogs were disappearing and nobody knew why. And they put these cameras at night and the leopards were coming in and nobody had seen them at all. So there's about 300,000 leopards in Africa overall, which compared to the 20,000 lions and the 8,000 cheetahs is pretty good. But there's only 8,000 cheetahs in the entire continent now of Africa. And cheetahs were actually also in Asia too. There's a tiny number left, but they were in Asia and all over Africa. And now they're down to just 8,000.
So if you will allow me, there's this very interesting topic I want to handle. Somebody mentioned that eating bushmeat is cultural in Nigeria, in Africa. Yes, culture. One thing we should realize is culture is not a static event. It's dynamic.
The killing of twins was a culture in Africa, in Nigeria at the time.
And there was a time in the West when the king died. Somebody was killed and buried with the king, the Abubakar and all. You see, we found out that these aspects of culture did not profit us or is inimical to our well-being. We did away with them. So also now that we are finding that the consumption of bushmeat is not in line with our well-being and survival, it's time to deal with that aspect of culture and phase it out.
Yeah, I mean, culture here in Nigeria is very vibrant and it's changing all the time. The music is changing, things are changing.
In Africa, tribal marks are part of our culture. But people who say that eating meat is part of their culture don't give tribal marks to their children anymore.
Exactly.
This is...
So it's selective. It's selective amnesia. So the thing is, for some of us who say, like the killing of twins used to be a very common practice in that P Square would not have made it. The killing of twins was very, very rampant in Calabar area at the time. Can you still hear me now?
Yeah, there are so many examples of cultural practices which have changed, have evolved with time. As we've, everyone used to use ivory from elephants for piano keys. And then they stopped and they developed a plastic, which every keyboard now has this plastic. And you just move on. And it didn't make any big cultural change. It didn't have any huge impact. We just find an alternative when we move. And obviously with bushmeat, now we have more and more access to chicken and other meats. If we want meat, fish, there's all kinds of alternatives. And so, it's really just education and what the norm is in a society. And education changes those norms in society, and things can move forward. So,
and then there are these people that will say, bushmeat is sweet. Let me cut a raw piece of bush, cook it without any salt or condiment, and give to you if you will say it's sweet. It's usually the condiments, the curry and thyme and everything that we put that brings out the taste. So if you flavor any piece of meat properly, it's going to be real tasty. And then there's this misconception that people say, bushmeat is healthy, that is drug-free and all that. If I tell you the amount of heavy ions in bushmeat, you would swear, heavy metals in bushmeat, you would swear never to taste it again.
Oh, wow. Now, so alternatives are now another way to help discourage the consumption of bushmeat or wild animals. Then we also talked about creating a safe place and a reserve. Policies have to be made. Awareness, and then getting a lot of ambassadors to talk about this so that people listen to this. Education of the people. Yeah, somebody just said educating the people is a big thing. There's a great need to push the awareness, and we can drive it from all platforms. I thank you so much for finding time to come. But just before you go, what are the projects that you're working on now to help drive this awareness? I saw something on TV, on channels, I think, where you guys were releasing certain animals back into the wild.
Well, and Dr. Mark now, he's trying to be a bigger celebrity than you, Alibaba. You've got to watch out this competition. Dr. Mark has his own kids TV show now, so watch out. He maybe get you on. He has a
Dr. Mark is now a celebrity. I've seen him on CNN. He's a celebrity.
On the way out. But we're doing a kids show, which is great. We're working with lots of different media on different shows. You've probably seen our show on Arise that we do with Layla. That's out. So all the TV channels we're working with in different ways and different types of programming, working with a lot of musicians. We're doing a series called Music for Wildlife, which is concerts that are being shown on TV. In the middle of the concerts, just like 2 or 3 minutes about wildlife, about conservation, so people can learn and hopefully enjoy themselves and have fun at the same time. Because, we don't want to be too preachy here. We want to get people to make it fun, engage. Wildlife is the most amazing and beautiful experience that people can have. And we'd love everybody to get a piece of that experience and maybe get some learning on the way. But also, these are tough subjects. Let's try and have some fun on the way and try and make it interesting.
All right. I'm up for the reservation and the safe place. If we just try and get government policy and government backing. I heard that the gorillas and chimpanzees that are around the Sapele area, the numbers have also reduced greatly because people have been poaching and eating them. Yeah.
Yes.
In Rwanda now, not only the gorilla numbers going up, so they're looking to expand the park because they've got too many gorillas now for the park. They're also taking people to see chimpanzees. I've been on trips to go and view baboons. Now, baboons I always used to think of as quite nasty and aggressive, but when you meet these habituated baboons that got used to people, they're still in the wild, but you can sit in the middle of them and you see them all around grooming each other and how their families work. It's really interesting and a really wonderful experience. So there's lots of wildlife experiences. One of the things we're trying to find here in Nigeria, gray parrots, probably the most intelligent bird in the world. Very, very smart birds. They communicate with whistles, squeaks, and squawks. And sometimes you have these roosts where maybe 1,000 come together. And it's a beautiful sight to see all these animals coming in and talking to each other. And so we're trying to find a place in Nigeria where people can go and view that and go and see that as an ecotourism experience. And then local communities can maybe charge a bit to go and take people and get some benefit from it.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. The ecotourism is also a part of the way that I didn't mention, is a part of how to get these animals protected. It's a lot. And then photography as well. We could organize photography competition and get people to go into the and shoot pictures. Awareness with the pictures. and have a price tag to it and say the more exotic the animals you shoot, not shoot to kill, but shoot for pictures, the higher the price that you can win. That'll be
Lagos,
beautiful.
you know, down here there's hawks, there's all kinds of birds around, because birds can interact more with humans than many other animals and come in and out. And there's some beautiful birds just even here in Lagos, let alone when you go out into the forest.
Okay, that's beautiful. So now, what other projects are you guys involved in while you're still in Nigeria? When did you come in?
I just came in. Well, went to Abuja on Monday, a couple of days there, and then we come down here since Wednesday, seeing a lot of our partners, doing media interviews and things like that. You know, we're going to be recording a whole bunch more of public service announcements with various people like yourself. We are doing some more kids TV show with animals. We actually just came back from Ghana as well, and Ghana is looking at this and going like, oh, we want this project like they've been doing in Nigeria. So we just started in Ghana too, and they've got, you know, same kind of issues going on there. And again, they have you can see elephants there. They've got some tourism going there. So, you know, got a few more animals left in certain places. There's even
like this jersey that I'm wearing is a rainforest jersey for the Super Eagles. I think it would be nice if we then find one way to get some graphic designers to come up with some designs of some animals that are going into extinction, and we can build it into our national jerseys for Super Eagles to wear. It may not be the main one they play football with, but the one they wear when they are off the field. Something like that. Just create awareness anyhow. This AFCON that is going on, this would have been a great time. And then if a bank had sponsored or a corporate body has sponsored any of the adverts, it would have made a lot of sense.
Well, the next AFCON, as you're probably aware, is going to be in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. And all those countries have a lot of wildlife tourism. So pretty certain there's going to be a lot of wildlife stuff around that. But I just read an article before I came on saying the best shirts are the Nigerian shirts. The Nigerian team has the best shirt designs. And so putting it into one of the designs, like I said, they have multiple designs.
Oh, yes, we do. See. Forget about this. This is carbs, not wildlife. This is carbs.
Beautiful.
So, we can, talk. Alex Iwobi has been one of our spokespeople. It'd be great to get the Super Eagles more involved. And
yes, I saw the PSA with Alex Iwobi, and I was like, oh yes, that is really beautiful. I would like to do something like that. But Dr. Mark has not been available. Dr. Mark is a celebrity now. He's everywhere on TV, releasing animals to the wild, relating with big boys. He doesn't have my time.
You have to
have your boy.
Your agent speak to his agent, and maybe we can fix something up.
Boss.
Okay. All right. So we'll work something out. I think I should shoot my PSA very soon, at least this year, before February or so. You should shoot my PSA so that it can begin to run. And we'll look for how we can even still get some banks support us by putting some of our wild animals on there. People don't do checks anymore, but put it on their ATM cards. As they issue the ATM card, have the design on it, and then the message is on the ATM card. People will see it. A lot more people will see it. One other way is get some organizations to sponsor the ad, and we'll put it on the back of match packs. The match boxes. Match boxes are still used by so many people in cooking. So we then do the message at the back of the match boxes and say, don't kill, because most of the people who would then cook any of those wild animals will have to light a match. I think that's another way that we can reach out to some of these people. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mark. Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a great time. Now you are going to make me feel guilty every time they serve me meat, because I have to ask, what meat is this? Where is it from? And I have to...
sometime.
I'll go chop snake.
Okay, but fish is not going into extinction. Are they also in the wild?
I mean, look, some of the fish, the marine fish, are endangered for sure, but things like the catfish and the tilapia, it's great. It's more sustainable than meat. I mean, the
But
way
we breed the catfish so much here that I don't think that one will go into extinction ever. And one catfish that is about this size now is about like 60,000 naira. So we need to
vegetables, so you're not putting protein in. Some fish farming, they use protein, they use other feed it, like salmon. So that's not good. But the catfish and the tilapia is much more sustainable and much better.
All right.
Let me make some boys in southern Nigeria, they caught all the fish and they use it for pepper soup. Meanwhile, the fish cost it's valued at about $250 million.
Woo!
Put it on a plate and add pepper soup. I'm telling you.
They ate a state budget. They ate a state in the north. I think that's Jigawa State's budget. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow. All right, so I get the we'll continue to push the message out and get a lot more people to be aware. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to try. I don't know, when are you going back, sir, Peter?
Sunday, but I'll be back, as they say. And
okay, so
hopefully.
Even when you are out there, once in a while, just call. Let's do another Instagram live. I really did enjoy this. And what we'll do is that we'll then let's work with the team and get more pictures. So as we're talking, we can just do and just scroll through so many of the pictures and show people what we're talking about, so they know the national. What's the animal that is a Nigerian national animal? What's it? There's a Nigerian national animal. I'm trying to remember the name.
Crown crane.
Crown crane, beautiful birds, really gorgeous birds, and the eagle, of course, and we have the super eagles.
But they're not going out of extinction, right? They're not going into extinction. Right?
They're threatened with extinction. They're threatened.
I've not seen anyone. So is there no way to breed those ones as well? It's our national bird.
You need to, especially for the birds, protect where they live. If you take down the forest, all the big trees in Lagos, they are coming down one after the other. If you take down the trees, you've taken down their homes, and that there is this bird, the Egyptian vulture. It would only put its nest on the tree. The eki is this ironwood that is highly sought after. So if you bring down all the eki trees, that's the end.
Oh.
So that's the thing.
Wow.
We need to.
Oh wow.
Vultures out, you have all kinds of disease problems because they clean up the carcasses of animals, so you get things like anthrax and stuff. The dogs can get infected when the dogs eat the carcasses if the vultures don't do the cleanup job. So almost every animal has its job. It has its role. The elephants are the gardeners. Vultures, pesticides.
I'm still talking about how to create awareness. There's this game that people like to play. It's the Ludo. Putting those animals in the Ludo games and all of that would also help. Put it in, and then do a competition, get them to be playing, and you'll see the animals. We'll do a lot. I'll rub minds with Dr. Mark so that I can become a celebrity like him as well, and use it to promote the wildlife in Africa. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. Bye. Hello.